I don't know about angels, but it's fear that gives men wings.
There's very few games I'll go back to again and again just for the story, even fewer for the dialogue and characters themselves. Max Payne is the latter, a game I routinely play through not just because I love the gameplay, but because I love the world it brings me to. Noir York City.
Valkyr had been meant to be a white-winged maiden that would lift you to a warrior's heaven, but it turned out to be a one-way demon ride to hell. The devil was in the drug. I knew. I had met him. And now I was gonna kill her. The queen of the underworld who had tried to lift herself a bit closer to heaven with her drug money.
While all the elements of Max Payne are fantastic, it's the dialogue and writing that stays lodged in my mind. Utilizing a hard-boiled detective style, it emphasizes the questionable heroism of the main character, highlights the brutal nature of the city itself, and does so with captivating metaphors and prose. It paints a bleak and dark reality of a man broken and hunting for his family's killers. An endless journey that leads him to the deepest, most depraved pits of the city and consumes his every waking moment. This is the inner monologue of a man on the edge.
Cogniti ran out of steam in a dead-end alley with steam boiling out of the sewer grates like all the fires of hell were burning high beneath us. It was shakedown time.
Max's fight with corrupting his own morals and giving in to his dark passenger is consistent throughout the game. He's torn between wanting to deliver justice to the animals who ruined his life, but still trying to stick to his own moral code. A code that's becoming harder and harder to remember.
One of our trusted boys has a monkey the size of King Kong on his back. We need your special skills for backup on a major deal.
Collecting evidence had gotten old a few hundred bullets back. I was already so far past the point of no return I couldn't even remember what it looked like when I had passed it.
He constantly thinks about giving up and how the fight might be pointless, how the monster he's fighting will just grow back 3 more heads for each one that he cuts off. It could all be for naught, this crusade for revenge. And yet, he pushes on.
Turn around, walk away, blow town. That would have been the smart thing to do. Guess I wasn't that smart.
There's a humanity to Max that stays with him throughout, and despite all that he's lost, he never fully gives in to the vengeful demons barking at his door. His memories of his wife and child still call out to him, and in his most stressful moments, they rear their heads.
There was no glory in this. I hadn't asked for this crap. Trouble had come to me in big dark swarms. The good and the just were like gold dust in the city. I had no illusions. I was not one of them. I was no hero. Just me and the gun and the crook. My options had decreased to a singular course.
This is where the game shines the most, when it's highlighting how Max reacts and changes with the city itself, how he's affected by the pounding snow, the falling bodies, and the looming threat of death around every corner. His inner monologue brings you to a sullen and downtrodden place each time, and they're masterfully done.
The bad trip had put me in a crazy mood, adrenaline pumping through my aching veins. Staggering on the mill roof in ice and snow and wild wind, I was a ninja. My kung fu was strong. I wasn't kidding anybody. At best, I was Superman on Kryptonite about to fall through a skylight, down to where it was all going down.
Noir York City is a filthy place, teeming with sex, drugs, and every possible vice imaginable. There's nothing too taboo or off limits for the animals that inhabit it. Anything goes.
There was an old telephone switchboard in the back room of the reception area, the kind that made phone tapping child's play. It wasn't hard to picture a fat pimp sweating with headphones on, listening to his hookers talk dirty and fake orgasms over a web of party lines. The blood veins of New York. Right now, there was a different set of moans and groans going on.
There's a cold ambiance to the city that never goes away. The game relies on brutal winter winds and empty concrete echoes for its background music. It's lonely, it's harsh, and it's hopeless. You never feel like the sun will ever break through again, and the only light that there is comes in crimson spills from the street rats.
Thin as death. I've been living on an endless supply of week-old donuts. They were fuel for this crazy furnace inside my head. I couldn't remember when I had last seen the sun. I was on a permanent graveyard shift. When the darkness fell, New York City became something else, any old Sinatra song notwithstanding. Bad things happened in the night, on the streets of that other city, Noir York City.
Max loses everything in this story. He loses his family, his partner, his best friend, and whatever goodwill he had with the people of the city after being called a terrorist. He has very few options, and Max does what he does best.
The city's fight against the nightmare drug Valkyr took a turn for the worse, as DEA Special Agent Alex Balder was found brutally slain at the Roscoe Street subway station. A suspect was seen leaving the site only moments after the shots had been fired, and the NYPD is currently in pursuit of Max Payne, a repeated felon believed to be armed and extremely dangerous. And now the weather. The worst winter storm in recorded history continues to pound the city.
This is a universe with no good guys left. The concept of what's good is murky and obscured by cold obelisks and broken windows. This world thrives on chaos, and there's plenty of people to serve it to you.
I have tasted the flesh of fallen angels. I've tasted the devil's green blood. It runs in my veins. I've seen beyond a world of skin, the architecture of blood and bow and arrow. Death is coming! She is coming, and hell follows with her. This is the twilight winter. I am ready to be her son.
Valkyrie, the drugs the junkies were on when they murdered Max's family, is the main source of this chaos. Every soul is involved with it in some way, whether it's manufacturing, selling, or using it. This demon has its claws in everybody. Even the elements of nature itself suppress and hold down the people of the city.
Winter storm warning is in effect in the whole tri-state area, as both freezing rain and heavy snowfall continue. Many roadways are already closed, and people are advised to stay indoors. The severe blizzard has ravaged New York for 3 days now, with no end in sight.
We'd been snowed from the start in the Valkyr case. The forecast said there was plenty more where that had come from. But the snowbound city was on my side. Less chance of innocent bystanders getting caught in the crossfire.
The villains of the game are also a strong feature. Whether it's the manic lunacy of Jack Lupino or the squirrely, pathetic bluffing of Vinny Gognitti, all of them are fully realized and have loads of character and wit. My personal favorite being Nicole Horn, the worst of the bunch, and the one directly responsible for Max's situation.
Sooner or later, it was going to catch up with you.
Mr. Payne, it's time to show you the benefits of my brew. Be a good boy now.
You'd find that Lady Luck was really a hooker. You were fresh out of cash.
Horn has this deep and psychotic energy about her. Every time she's on screen, you immediately feel a sense of professional comfort and fear. Being the head of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, she's definitely been seasoned in the ways of negotiation and public relations, and those skills eke out whenever she speaks. No matter how horrifying the subject is, her efficient and business-oriented demeanor never falters.
No begging, no bribes. She knew better. Honor among killers. We who were about to die. Both of us knew how this would end, in pain and suffering.
All this because your wife stuck her nose into things that were none of her business.
The cops were coming to take me away. The sirens were like a bad conscience I couldn't shake.
It's ridiculous you've made it this far. You won't be alive when they get here.
Max's sense of humor still manages to shine through the clouds of gloom. The game peppers in moments of black comedy at unexpected moments, but does so with its own sinister twist. A comic called Captain Baseball Bat Boy is shown sporadically, and you would think it would serve as a form of comic relief.
Captain Baseball Bat Boy has an unbeatable track record in superhero death matches. But a six-pack of root beer gets me every time.
But the game throws your expectations for a loop, corrupting this character and giving him the form of Frankie the Bat Niagara, who's such a big Baseball Bat Boy fan himself, he's taken up some bat skills of his own.
I woke up in a bad dream. My head felt 2 sizes too small for my brain.
Max Payne. I envy your name.
And the killer was smiling.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Frankie the Bat Niagara.
Niagara, as in you cry a lot? He had a baseball bat and I was tied to a chair. Pissing him off was the smart thing to do.
Max's wisecracks while getting pummeled make sense. There's no chance Frankie was going to let him go without a couple of whacks to the head, and being tied to a chair tends to give that impression. Max figures he might as well have some fun while he still can, and perhaps maybe even go out smiling if this is the end. In fact, many of the goons and killers have their own bit of awareness like that, showing that even the sickest people in this universe can still conjure up a laugh or two.
You can't do this! My men are still inside!
Do you have any idea why this is called Operation Deadeyes?
think he's dead already.
All this is possible thanks to James McCaffrey's performance. His gravelly low voice strikes the perfect balance between morose and confident gravitas, with each line delivering a resounding ringing in my head. He perfectly captures that old-world detective style and updates it for a new generation, feeling both classic and modern, a timeless interpretation that holds up today. They say the best way to know if a commercial is good is if you can understand it with the sound off. The visuals and arts alone should tell the story and sell the product. Max Payne is exactly like that. You can completely immerse yourself in its world and its characters without ever seeing a single comic book panel. All you need is a set of ears.
Punchinello was a pushover. The moment I stepped into the room, he folded like a deuce before a royal flush.
No, wait. I was just doing what I was told. I couldn't refuse. She's someone high up. Government, maybe. I don't know.
He was trying to buy more sand for his hourglass. I wasn't selling any. I was in a computer game. Funny as hell, it was the most horrible thing I could think of.